So here we go again with what could be a plot in a sci-fi thriller, but is reality. For the first time, scientists have used artificial intelligence to create brand new viruses, 16 of them. Researchers at Stanford University and the Arc Institute say they trained an AI model called Evo on huge amounts of DNA data. Then that information was used to create the new synthetic viruses.
What could possibly go wrong?
There's also concern that the technology could create new and yet unheard of bioweapons.
So in today's headlines, AI just designed 16 viruses from scratch, and there's no governance that exists for this specific scenario. So Stanford and Arc Institute researchers use AI models Evo 1 and Evo 2, and they use them to generate hundreds of thousands of candidate virus genomes. Genomes, I'm going to explain what that is soon. 16 turned out to be functional, and some outperformed the natural viruses they were modeled after. So biosecurity experts, of course, are sounding the alarm, and they're saying, hey, right now, DNA synthesis companies are not required by law to screen for these types of sequences. So today's question is obvious. If AI can design a working virus today, albeit a harmless working virus, who's to make sure it can't design a dangerous one tomorrow? Think about it. AI just designed a virus from scratch, not by copying one that already exists, but by writing a brand new genome, letter by letter, that turned out to actually work in the lab. 16 of them, in fact, worked. And the researchers who did the study said, hey, we have a governance gap. There's considerable risk about AI's capabilities here. And so before we go further, I try to give you some tech behind the tech. I am not a bioengineer. So if you're a bioengineer, my example and my discussion is not up to par, please don't be too mad at me. I'm a cyber and AI and computer science nerd. But let's talk about genome. Just in case you don't know what it is, I try to give you a little tech behind the headline. Genome is kind of like the complete instruction set for building living things, right? Think of it kind of like a cookbook. And in this cookbook, there are recipes, and each recipe is kind of like a gene. How to build a protein, how to build an enzyme, how to build a cellular wall, right? And this cookbook is written using this four-letter alphabet. This four-letter alphabet, these are the building blocks scientists have designated, and the blocks are A, T, C, and G. So every gene is really just some combination of these letters, although very long combinations, right? For example, the viruses, we're talking about 5,400 letters for their genome. Whereas humans, it could be upwards of 3 billion. And so now let's go back to what actually happened. These researchers at Stanford and Arc Institute, they built two AI models, Evo 1, Evo 2, I'm assuming short for Evolution 1, Evolution 2. If you think of them like ChatGPT learns language from text. That's how the models are trained. Well, Evo 1 and Evo 2, the grammar they learned came from these four building blocks, this four-letter alphabet, ATCG. And so what would happen would be the scientists would give Evo 1 or Evo 2 a fragment, and then Evo 1, Evo 2 would take that fragment and they would create a complete genetic blueprint, similar to if you put some sentences in ChatGPT and it gives you out a whole paragraph, a story, or whatever you're trying to create. Very similar. So what did they do and what happened? Well, a little more specific. These scientists, in my opinion, did things right. They picked a well-known harmless virus. This virus has been around since the 70s. It infects bacteria, not humans. And so what they did, they gave AI a fragment of this harmless virus. The AI models created over 700,000 candidate genomes. The researchers narrowed that down to 300, and then they actually built those 300 into the lab, and they tested against E. coli's bacteria. 285 assembled correctly, 16 turned out to be fully functional. They infected and killed the bacteria. Some work better than the natural virus. Now, the part I love about the story, the researchers here, they created their own safeguards. And this is the part that matters. This is why there's a Yours AI, because in tech, people are so in love and enamored with what the tech can do, they're not taking time to make sure they're doing it responsibly. And so what these researchers did at Arc Institute in Stanford, they deliberately left out every human, animal, and plant pathogen from the AI's training data. The model was never shown a single sequence capable of infecting a person. And they did this on purpose, specifically to prevent misuse. And why I love this is usually people don't self-govern. We don't do that well, right? And so I don't want to be sensational, but it's just the truth. Imagine you had a government, you had a certain group of people that didn't like a certain group of people. You had people with certain political ambitions or whatever it may be, or criminal intentions. They could actually use AI models and train them using different pathogens. They could give them a fragment of a sequence and tell them to build something that could, and tell them, meaning the AI models, to build a genome that actually could be harmful and pose great threat. You know, in the James Bond movies, you've got the crazy scientist, his glasses, he's a nerd, nobody likes him, you know. And then he creates this pathogen that if it gets in the water supply, it can kill all these people or populations. It sounds sensational, but AI has the potential to do that today. People, like I said, we don't self-govern well like these researchers did, and I applaud them. So what does it mean for you? I know you're not going to be creating pathogens in your kitchen, but I want you to understand the time and digital age we live in. Yours AI was created as a free community. People come together, and when we hear crazy stories like this, we make sense of it for you. And we tell you things that could directly affect you and what you need to do to stay safe online, keep your family safe online. Like and subscribe if you thought this was interesting. I'm Frank Satterwhite with AI and Cyber Unfiltered. You can become part of our community at yoursai.ai.